Sorry to interrupt, Dad. I need to ask you something. Go ahead. Did you, borrow my, razor? No, son. I never borrow your razor because your beard is too hard on the blade. The actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner, widely known for starring in the hit TV sitcom The Cosby Show, has died. Police in Costa Rica tell ABC News Warner drowned near a beach along the country's east coast. He was just 54 years old. He was a beacon. He was one of the most multi-seated talented men. Confirms to News that when Cosby received the call of Warner's passing, the news was just as devastating to him as when he learned of his own son, Andis Cosby's 1997 murder. You ever hear news so surreal you have to read it 3 times before it sinks in? That's exactly how it felt when reports confirmed that Malcolm-Jamal Warner drowned in Costa Rica. We're talking about a man who helped redefine what it meant to be a young black man on television in the 80s, the funny, awkward, smooth brother we all wanted. Now, some guys might find it hard living with 4 sisters, but I think it's made me more sensitive to the wants and needs of women. So, when the headlines started flying saying Malcolm-Jamal Warner dead at 54, people were stunned. Some thought it had to be fake, but sadly it wasn't. According to the official report, Malcolm was with his daughter at Playlist in Costa Rica when a strong rip current pulled him under, and by the time rescuers reached him, it was too late. The autopsy ruled it accidental drowning, but still, something about it didn't sit right with fans, especially the way the media kept changing the story. And Malcolm wasn't just a TV star. To us, to the culture, and definitely to the people he worked with for over a decade, he was family. His Cosby Show castmates broke down, and they all said this news hit them like losing their own flesh and blood. This story isn't just about loss. It's about legacy, grief, memory, and how we as a community process losing one of our own again. So let's talk about it. No. It's impossible to tarnish the legacy of that show, because there's a generation of kids who sought out higher education because of that show. Facts. There are a generation of kids who grew up and got married and had loving families because of that show. There's no way that you can reverse the influence that that show has had on the culture. Well, if you're feeling like Malcolm-Jamal's death doesn't seem totally accidental, you're not alone. And a lot of that comes from how the story in the media kept changing. So right after the news broke, the first report said Malcolm and his 8-year-old daughter were both in the water and got caught up in a rip current together. But less than 2 days later, Costa Rica's Judicial Investigation Agency put out a statement that changed things. They said that Malcolm was playing with his daughter at the seashore, and she was already out of the water before he got pulled in by the current and drowned. According to their statement, that's when Malcolm and another man were swept away by the current. They're also now saying there wasn't just 1, but 3 tourists at the scene who happened to be doctors, and even though they were able to save the other man who nearly drowned, somehow none of them could save Malcolm. So, the fact that the details keep changing is setting off alarm bells for a lot of people. At the same time, fans and even folks who live there started pointing out something else that doesn't add up. Playa Cocas, where all this went down, is known for deadly rip currents and barely any safety in place. And there are actual studies calling it the most dangerous beach in Costa Rica. So it's wild that Malcolm took his daughter there to swim while his wife stayed back at the hotel. And for some reason, there were no lifeguards on duty that day. The local volunteer lifeguard group admitted the beach was basically unmonitored, because they're low on resources. But still, there are warning signs posted all along the beach about the risk of drowning. This is the beach where all this unfolded. But really, as soon as you get here, even before you get onto the beachhead, you can see some warning signs for people who are coming to enjoy the day. Here it says Corrientes Resaca Toto Ilano, basically warning people there is a current here throughout the year. You can see there are warnings for surfers. There's warnings about wave conditions. And then take a look at this. This massive sign says you can survive a rip current. Clearly, they're warning people about the conditions that can develop. And unfortunately, the conditions appear to have pulled out Malcolm-Jamal Warner over the weekend. So it really doesn't add up that Malcolm would take his young daughter to a beach known for dangerous currents and then just leave her alone while he went swimming with a friend. Because that's not who Malcolm was. He wasn't reckless. No wild nights, no headlines, no messy drama. The man was on a quiet vacation and his family was everything to him. I've never second-guessed it. We've been together almost 10 years, and we have never had a fight, an argument, a raised voice, or a harsh word said to. And then there's the whole confusing situation with this other man who was supposedly swimming with Malcolm. At first, reports said it was a total stranger, someone who saw Malcolm in trouble and jumped in to help. But now they're saying it was a family friend. That guy apparently made it out of the water alive, but nobody seems to know who he is. No name, no photo, no statement, no nothing. And get this, on July 20th, the media reported that this man was transported to a Costa Rican clinic in critical condition. But less than 24 hours later, news broke that the man made a full recovery and was released from the hospital. So, how did he go from nearly drowning and being in critical condition to making a full recovery and walking out of the hospital? And why hasn't this man made any public statements about what happened? Plus, let's not ignore the timeline. Malcolm had just been making a creative comeback. His podcast was blowing up. There were rumors about a Netflix deal. He also talked about writing a memoir. And look, I'm not saying there was definitely foul play, but let's be real. You don't need to be deep into conspiracy theories to feel like this whole story just doesn't line up. Either way, this loss hits hard, especially for those of us who grew up watching Malcolm. This cuts deep because Malcolm wasn't just some actor who came and went. He was one of the rare ones who grew up in the spotlight, made it through with his integrity intact, and never switched up. No scandals, no clout chasing, just steady, honest, meaningful work both on screen and behind the scenes. And yes, most people know Malcolm as Theo Huxtable, but if that's all you remember him for, you're missing the bigger picture. Malcolm was a musician, a movie director, and an accomplished poet. He was deep into spoken word, open mics, black bookstores, and community centers. He had a Grammy for a jazz album. He was performing in spaces where the cameras didn't follow and where the checks didn't come easy. And he wasn't afraid to touch on certain subjects that most people in Hollywood are too scared to talk about. Malcolm-Jamal Warner knew the Israelites are black. The art of being black is often an acrobatic act in defending black humanity in a world that worships a pale, long-haired Anglo-Saxon savior, even though the Bible clearly describes him as a bronze-skinned, woolly-haired Hebrew. Malcolm also spoke on black mental health before it was trendy. He showed up at panels that discussed accountability in the industry, masculinity, black fatherhood, and he was actively trying to educate people on the importance of real role models. The biggest gift that I can give my daughter is a sense of self. So when she goes out into the world, she is not easily influenced by her surrounding. Amen. Right? So since she was like 2 years old, someone says to her, "Oh, you're so pretty, you're so cute, you're so beautiful." She'll say, "Thank you, and I'm smart too." So yeah, this isn't just TV star dies at 54. This is the silencing of a man who had so much more to say. And when the news hit, fans were in shock. But the Cosby Show cast, they were devastated. You could feel it in how they responded. Not like coworkers mourning a colleague, but like family mourning their brother. Because that's what Malcolm was to them, the glue. The one who never spiraled, never sold out, never turned his back. Even when that show and that legacy became complicated. Kesha Knight Pulliam, who played Rudy Huxtable, posted one of the first tributes, and she said she lost her big brother but gained an angel. Raven Simone, who came on later in the show, broke down and said that Malcolm was the sweetest, most gentle man she's ever met. Someone who always made her feel seen. Words cannot describe the pain and sadness and surprise that I feel with the recent loss of MJW. He was the big brother. He was a beacon. He was one of the most multi-seated, talented men. So gentle, and my heart and soul and hugs and kisses go out to his daughter and his wife and his mother. He gave the best advice. He gave the best hugs, and his smile will always be a huge, bright white smile in my head forever. Then came Jeffrey Owens, who played Sandre's husband, Elvin, on The Cosby Show. Now, you might remember Jeffrey from the whole Trader Joe's incident a few years back. Jeffrey went viral after photos of him bagging groceries at a Trader Joe's were posted online, and both mainstream media and trolls online shamed him for going from TV star to cashier. But Malcolm was one of the first people to publicly defend Jeffrey, and he has some strong words for the news outlets who tried to shame him. Malcolm wrote on Instagram, "Just when most of us get sick and tired of social media and how heartbreaking it can be, something heartwarming like this happens, I can't express to you how full my heart is seeing how social media has rallied behind and supports Jeffrey Owens. Jeffrey is a good dude. It's actually a distinguishing quality of his. So it's no wonder that he is willing to do whatever he needs to do legally to take care of his family. What people don't know about Jeffrey is that not only did he graduate cum laude from Yale, but he is an accomplished theater actor pre- and post-Cosby. His intimate knowledge of Shakespeare as an actor and director puts many of us to shame, and in a way we should thank Fox News and the miserable for their attempt to shame him with the love and support he's getting from everybody. He is about to get more work. Trader Joe's is not a career change. You dumb out there. It's a placeholder gig that allows flexibility to go on auditions and then to take time off to go to work when booking said auditions. An actor's life is a series of ups and downs. As my mama used to tell me when I was a teenager, if you're in this business long enough, you will have dry spells. Watch this be the best kickstart this dry spell needed. Salute and mad respect to bro. So when Jeffrey paid tribute to Malcolm after the tragic news hit, it wasn't performative. He said the news left him almost speechless and added, "Malcolm was a lovely man, a sweet and sensitive soul. I respected him for many reasons, including the fact that he genuinely loved the act of creation. He had the mind of an actor and the heart of a musician. He was generous too. I did a theater project long ago and asked him to participate, and he was there for me. My heart goes out to his family." And then there was Bill Cosby. Now say what? You will, and believe me, we will. But when he released a statement, the whole internet stopped. He called Malcolm the soul of the show and said losing him felt the same way as losing his real son, Andy, who was killed in 1997. When the news came to me, and the news came to me in a way that we're not really sure, and we don't know this, and we don't know whether because it's the same way I got the news about in his swimming. I don't know what came and got him, but I do know that he is an honest person, and that media, I hope, will show the respect. So now we're left with the silence. No more Theo laugh, no more calm, thoughtful interviews, no more verses, no more podcasts, no more presence. Just a void where Malcolm-Jamal Warner used to stand. And yeah, the official story says it was just an accident, and maybe it was. But even if it wasn't something sinister, it still feels wrong. Like the kind of loss that shouldn't have happened, not like this. Well, now I want to hear from you. What did Malcolm mean to you? Did you follow his career after the Cosby Show ended? Do you think we celebrated him enough while he was alive? And what do you make of the timing and circumstances of his death?